feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me. And what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe
Here
me.
he is, the man himself,
Take into your
Tony
hands
Danger,
a plan
on
your
the
own
Tony
hands,
Podcast
your own
now.
brand, and damn, I feel like
Enjoy the video, folks.
they want the credibility, convincingly unwilling to put in the fucking hours it takes to get some power. Don't be fucking sour, take a cold shower, scream until you're louder, work until you're prouder, and fuck all the doubters, they're just fucking downers. I swear to God they all let me down. I always fought just to wear the crown. I'm pissed off at these fucking clowns who were all taught they deserve an ounce. It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop.
Hey, what's up everyone, this is Tony Danger 33 here, and welcome to the Tony World podcast. So, I am going to talk about my, my experience with primary school. So basically it will be primary school to do with Grange Park in the UK and Charville Primary School. So, how do I start this? So I don't know how old I was. I was in year 2 in Grange Park, and because of my severe anxiety issues and apparently I had some anger issues that I had to deal with, it wasn't very easy to fit in. The reason why I say I didn't fit in very well was because the fact that I was bullied a lot. Because I'm going to say this properly and so that you guys understand. I am on the autistic spectrum, meaning I have autism. So it means I struggle with reading, writing, and spelling. I still have issues till this day with it, and it's been carrying on ever since. But I've managed to I've done the best I can to work through it as best as I can as I've gotten older. To do with Grange Park. So when I was in Grange Park, I had a lot of issues with my teacher in year 2 because I was not doing things that I was supposed to do, apparently. And the LSA, or the learning support worker who was there to support me in the lessons, stood up for me at one point because she was treating me differently compared to all the other students that were in the class. And around the time I was in Grange Park, my mother had slipped on grass and, broke her ankle. Or actually, she broke her ankle and had to have surgery on it. And so my mum was suffering, and I was having a lot of issues and anxiety issues, and it was getting to me quite badly. And when I was in Grange Park in the UK, it kind of like I was picked on quite a lot because I wasn't treated the same as other kids were. Because they basically had told me that how do I put this in frame of terms? That I had anger issues. So the reason why they said I had anger issues is because I used to lash out quite a lot. And the reason why I lashed out quite a lot was because of the fact that kids were bullying me. And I haven't said that. I'll say the story here and now. So I was in the playground in Grange Park in the UK. Grange Park in the UK. So this kid decided to try to push me around. So tried to push me around and thought that he was superior to me. And what happened was I picked him up and I threw him against a tiny fence. I know it was wrong, but there are 2 things that I've always said to people when they've met me. The first one is don't push me. The second is don't annoy me in any type of way. And the third is then I will scream at you and shout at you. So that's the way I reacted when I was in Grange Park. So after that, I was sent to the principal of the school about it, and so I was given a 10-minute detention. So basically what happened was I didn't show up because of the fact that I I had a lot of issues going on with my mum, like I've said, and so I didn't show. I tipped it with I had a bottle of water in my hand, so I got the bottle of water, I spilled it all over, put it on my hand, and I put it in the bin. And so I went back to my nan's house, and I didn't tell my nan what happened because, well, I didn't want to. I told my mum a bit about it, but my mum didn't really consider thinking about it. But anyways, okay, so that was the experience I had at Grange Park. So let's get to Charville Primary School. So I was a new kid starting in Charville Primary School, and a lot of people in there didn't have an issue with me at first. There was one kid that had an issue with me because I remember we were playing football and he smashed the football in my right eye, and my eye went funny for a few seconds. I don't know why, but I feel like he always had an issue with me. So basically, what happened was this girl that was in my class kept flirting with me, and I basically what happened was I found out that she did this with a lot of the new kids who were boys that started. It was a bit weird and strange, I found. I thought she was cute. I'll fully admit that she was a cute girl, and I will fully admit that. But all I'm going to say was the girl that I kissed for the very first time. I thought it was going to be different, but I actually fell in love with her actually. But as soon as I realised what she was really like, I found out that she was very manipulative. She manipulated me. She used me for some stuff. I didn't know what it was. And when I realised it was too late, I basically just walked away from the situation and I moved on. So when I was in year 2, I had a lot of issues. Some of the kids didn't know I had issues until I actually told them that I was autistic. And the response I got was very different from when I was in Grange Park in the UK. And both these primary schools are from the UK, just so you know. So I got a different response. I can tell you this: some of the people I met were absolutely brilliant and kind. I do remember there was one person that I respected the most. I think his name was Daniel. I think. Basically, he had a lot of issues as well with his sister, and I turned around and said to him, if you're having some issues with your sister, then you just talk to her about it. His sister was absolutely brilliant and kind, and I really liked her because I think she was a nice person. I mean, in a friendly way, not in that kind of way. But I think he had a lot of darkness inside him, and I'll fully admit that. Well, nowadays he's now a parent now, so that's a good thing now. So he's now, moving on with his life. So I'm happy for him now. So on the topic of Charville Primary School in the UK, I had a lot of weird responses because people were asking me about, why do you have this problem? Why do you have that problem and all that? I didn't really know how to explain it to them. I just told them what I thought autism meant to me. But, what autism meant to me was the fact that it was basically a thing that was labelled, and it was just really difficult, and it was hard. And I also say this, and I remember this very well. I think when I was, I had joined a club called Breakfast Club. So it was basically something that I had to get in early in the morning into school, in Charville Primary School. And, it was quite fun, but there was one kid that I didn't like, and I knew he didn't like me because he said it to my face. His name was, I think it was Glenn, I think. He had a real beef with me, and I didn't know why. I really didn't. I think it was because of the fact that I was more, how do I put this? I had more bigger balls than he did, is all I'm going to say about that. And the reason why I say this is because I think it was because of the fact that I had a good relationship with his friend, and he hated that, and he was trying to take it out on me for it. when we were in Breakfast Club, he threatened me, and he turned around and said, "I'm going to shoot your head off with a football." He tried to shoot my head off with a football, and he literally wanted to throw it. He threw it full pelt at my face, and I think the good thing is I ducked, and then I was told to sit down, and I explained why I had to duck. And so the teacher apologized to me and said, you can stand up if you want to. I got severely upset and anxious because he had said that to me. It really upset me. And he never apologized to me for it, because all I'm going to say, he was too much of a coward to say it to my face. But anyways, on the different topic. So when I get through the years of Charville Primary School in the UK, it was like, I think I remember there was one time when I think it was year 3. I was severely upset and anxious, and I can say this is behind closed doors, and I'm gonna publicly say this, and I haven't, and this isn't, when I was in Charville Primary School, I remember when I was younger, when I was in Charville Primary School, I was severely upset and I was severely anxious. And this teacher, which I don't know, I can't remember her name exactly, tried to grab my leg and pull me out of a table, which is technically what you're not supposed to do. And she had to apologise for what she did to me. All I'm going to say is I don't think she should have gotten a slap on the wrist. I think she should have been fired. Because the fact that with Charville Primary School, they didn't know how to deal with autistic kids and people with mental and disabilities, people with mental health and disabilities, because kids weren't treated as differently as they are now, because mental health is finally being accepted. Because when I was at school, it wasn't accepted very well. It was treated like a bucket of footballs or some rubbish and all that stuff. So basically, she pulled me out underneath the table, and so I got sent to the vice principal's office, not the principal, of the school at the time, and she had to apologise. So she apologised to me about it. I wasn't really too happy about it, neither was my mum. So my mum was severely angry about it. So yeah, that happened. So then when I got through the rest of the years, I had some issues with a couple of people. I won't say their names because, I'm not going to call them out on it. I'm just going to be brutally honest in my opinion about my experience at the school. So, I made a lot of friends. All I'm going to say is it took me a while to earn most of their respect. I think there was one time that I don't even know, but, who knows, never mind. So I met a girl in the last few years of Charville Primary School in the UK. So her name was Jodie. The most beautiful girl that I had ever met. Kind, sweet, and I would say caring in some cases. And I didn't know that she liked me at the time because she was dating a friend of mine. And yes, I will say this. All I'm going to say is that I asked her out. Before I asked her out, I asked her if she had a boyfriend. She told me no. And I will say this right now. She said no to me. She was dating one of my friends at the time. And she said no. And I asked twice. And she said no. So I basically went for it and asked her out. And she said yes. And then I soon discovered that she had a crush on me, which I was a bit surprised about, but hey-ho, that's how things go. So then that happened. And then my friend got pissed at me because of it and tried to start a fight with me. And I turned around and said to him, I'm not going to fight you. And then he tried to take a swing at me. He tried to punch me in the face. I dodged, and I basically pushed him out the way, and I turned around and said to him, you did this to yourself. And I said, don't push me again, is what I said. And I left it. So then that happened. Some of his friends were pissed at me, including his friend Glenn. who was very pissed at me because of it. And he left because he didn't want to be with this teacher, because there was a teacher that he didn't like, and he started crying and moaning and bitching, and it was, they turned around and told him that he could go to the other teacher if he wanted, and his mum pulled him out of school, pulled him out of the Charville primary school. He's doing well for himself now. That's all I'm going to say. I haven't spoken to him in years because we had a falling out over this. I'm still pissed at him because he tried to make a move on her, on Jodie, who was my girlfriend at the time. Because I think, in my honest opinion, I think he was jealous of me, because I could say things, I said things that he wouldn't say, and he didn't have the courage to say it himself, and so yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, this is the Tony World podcast, by the way, if I didn't mention that before. So, anyways, forgetting what I just before I said, so basically I said that, I left it alone. So then the next thing happened. So I got into, I would say it was around about halfway through the end. I think it was in year 6, which was my last year at Charville Primary School. So it was year 6, and it was the first ever Charville prom. So this was 2012. This was around the time of the Olympics. And I had a couple of friends from America that came over. And I was actually quite happy to see the friends that I had from America. So I was quite happy about it, because it was around the time of the London 2012 Olympics. So that happened. And if I remember what happened exactly, no one who knew about this, my whole entire world fell apart, because of the fact that this person named Glenn had decided to spread a lie about me, that I was with another person, which I was not. And I will fully admit this now. I loved this girl, Jodie, because I actually wanted to treat her like a queen, because the fact that around the time of the prom, I had gone to get a corsage, and I bought it with my own money, and it was a very good flower shop. The people in there were very kind, and they were very genuine, so I bought her a corsage. She didn't know about the corsage. I didn't tell her about the corsage. I didn't show her the corsage. My mum saw it, my sister saw it, and they thought it was quite beautiful, because I had basically found the things that she liked, the things that she told me about. So I basically went out and bought corsage that matched her eyes. I got advice from my sister about it. I got advice from my mum about it. And all I'm going to say is it was a brilliant night at the prom. But when I said my whole world came crashing down, was this person named Glenn had decided to spread a lie about me being with another chick, which is an absolute big fat lie. And I didn't know what was going on at the time until someone had told me about it. And so I was taking photos with one of my friends whose name was Michael. So I was taking photos with him. I was taking prom photos with him, friendly type of way, if you know what I mean. So that happened, right? So I took photos with him. Basically, and someone had come up to me and told me about this, and I was absolutely fuming. So I tried to talk to this Jodie girl about it, and three or four girls stopped me from talking to her. They turned around and called me a liar. They called me a cheat. They called me this, that, and the other. And all I'm going to say is, if they had believed my side of the story, then maybe this kind of thing would never happen. So anyways, that happened. My heart was crushed. It took me, I think, about quite a few years to get over. I still have trouble with it till this day, because it's an issue that I still have. I can also say that therapy actually helped fix my problems, because the fact that I actually got to get it out off my chest, because it crushed me mentally and emotionally. I never got an apology about what happened because the fact that some of my friends were absolutely fuming because the fact that this had happened to me. And I remember there was one guy named George who was about to beat this person Glenn up because of what he did to me. In my honest opinion, I think it was jealousy because the fact that he had this box and it had a bunch of rings in it, like rings that people wear, like bling. So he had these bunch of rings, and so he didn't have the courage to give it to the girl that he liked. And he was. I would say he was jealous. The reason why I say he was jealous was because he didn't have the courage to say it. And that kind of hurt my feelings. Because he hurt my feelings and he didn't actually have the courage to tell me to my face. And I thought, this person is a coward. I haven't seen the guy since. I haven't spoken to him at all because I feel like he's, I don't know what he's doing now. I don't really care. So that kind of broke me. She never spoke. This girl Jodie never spoke to me again. I think the last time I spoke to her, she basically had turned around and said to me that she had gotten over it in her cases. But to be honest with you, every time I tried to bring it up, she would change the subject. And I would try and make a conversation about it, and she would just completely ignore me or blank me for it. And I wanted to talk about what happened. I wanted her to hear my side of the story. But she didn't want to know. So a few years went by after the prom was over. And so basically 2012, around the end of prom and stuff like that, I saw my friends from America. So basically we went to Windsor, which is in the UK. And we also went to Uxbridge, which is also in the UK as well, to see the Olympic torch. All I'm going to say is Uxbridge in the UK, around 2012, was the most epic and most craziest things you would ever expect. And all I'm going to say is that torch that happened in the 2012, near the time of the London Olympics, it was quite a big torch. I can tell you this. You would never see something like that again, but it was one of the most brilliant things in the world. So, on the topic of this Jodie girl, so I saw her again, and I met her grandparents. So this was before This was before they died, because I know for a fact that both her grandparents are now dead now. So I bumped into her nan. So I spoke to her nan, and she had turned around and said to me that she would talk about me all the time. And she grabbed my arm and turned around and said, "Do not let her go. Don't give up on her. Don't let her go." And I turned around and said that I think it's too late for that. She asked me why. I turned around and said it was because of the fact that she doesn't believe me. She thinks I'm a liar. She thinks I'm this, that, and the other, which is what I said to her. And so my nan turned around and said to me, her nan turned around and said to me, she was crushed about what happened. And it was, how do I say this in terms? It broke her. But all I'm going to say is I turned around and said to her that I had moved on. Because the fact I didn't want to trust someone that didn't believe in me to, say what I had to say about that situation. But yeah. So that was the last conversation I had with her. Her grandfather was quite nice. He was suffering from a lot of medical issues, which I'm not going to get into. I did have a conversation with him actually. He was quite funny actually. He had this Jodie girl's grandfather was quite funny. Because the thing is, he couldn't see the fireworks because he had medical issues, so he couldn't go outside because of the smell of the fireworks. So that happened, and he was quite a funny person, is all I'm going to say. So yeah, and then he died a few months after the conversation I had with him. So yeah, so that was the story of the relationship I had with this Jodie girl. So with the first girl I ever dated in primary school, she was quite manipulative, and she was I would say she was a bully, because the girl that I was dating at the time, around the time of primary school, was being bullied, and I didn't know about this. It wasn't until my sister had told me about it, I was absolutely pissed, and I was absolutely fuming. So basically what I did was I went up to her, and I turned around and said to her, "Why? I've been hearing that you've been bullying my girlfriend," around the time of the second girl I was dating at the time. And she didn't say anything. She just stood there, didn't say anything. And I turned around and said to her, "If you bully her again, you're going to answer to me." I wasn't trying to threaten her. I wasn't trying to, stir the pot. I was just trying to tell her to leave her alone, is what I said. So then that conversation was over, and then we all moved on. So at the end of the year of Charville Primary School, so this was year 6, so everyone was crying about leaving, and only 2 people who weren't crying. It was me, who wasn't crying, and a friend of mine called Daniel. We weren't crying at all. We were just basically glad it was over. So I was doing my best to, how do I say this, cheer people up by giving people hugs. And there was one girl that was severely upset, so I kept giving her lots of hugs to, as in a friendly way, to say it was okay. And so yeah, then that happened. So then that happened, and all that stuff, went mumbo jumbo. So I'm going to end this podcast here today. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this podcast. So this was the story of my experience in Grange Park in the UK and Charville Primary School, and also to do with 2012 and talking a little bit about the London 2012 Olympics. So, and friends, and the rest of the stuff. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the Tony World podcast. Please subscribe if you want to see more. The next podcast will come next Saturday. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you want to see more content, more of the Tony World podcast. And I hope to see you. I hope you watch this podcast next time. So this is Tony Danger signing off. Always remember to believe yourself and rock on. See ya. Bye.